We're on a stakeout. Let's keep a ribeye on the prize. This week on the Hapless Heroes.
Muggles are men, in their own way.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Hapless Heroes podcast. I'm Francesco, and I'm your host and DM as we continue this adventure in the lost city of Uhl, I guess we can call it. I'm going to intro our wonderful cast of characters tonight. Starting on my virtual left, we have Dave as Zero, Valen's Avatar of War.
Good evening.
Mike as Lord and Captain Quinn Southwind.
Always at my service.
Nicole as Boris the Butcher.
Ooh, we get to do another heist.
No one said heist.
I heard ribeye.
Zach as Pregnart.
Hello, I'm here too.
Phil as Hedrick the Entertainer.
I wonder who's gonna steal the show.
And John as Lord Jarrell the Light.
Just patiently waiting for the city to explode.
James, a.k.a. Hoblet the Smasher, is not with us tonight, but will be back with us very soon, so we will soldier on, and it's very easy to explain what Hoblet might be doing in a city that he used to frequent, and, well, he was probably one of the only people, actually the only person amongst all of you who would have been here before, and he's off. If I recall correctly, he wasn't a huge fan of the stakeout idea. Right?
Not
Do
particularly.
you remember that?
Maybe. Wait till he finds out that we're going to have some actual stakes out.
Yeah.
He'll change his mind.
Yeah, because like when we last left off, you guys were checking into the Garden Inn, which is in a ritzy part of town, and I never actually stated, like what the name, it's like we're world building on the fly here, folks. So like sometimes I don't always, when we go in a direction I wasn't expecting, I don't always necessarily have the, the map still loading. We'll call it.
You didn't expect us to fail so quickly in the tower?
Right now, you are in the 9th ward of the city of Uhl, which is one of the inner rings and sections of the of this massive metropolis, circular metropolis. And you are staying at a hotel not far from Ebenezer's house. Ebenezer Blackwood, who, you've all known to be apparently the arbiter of the foul upheaval, which is supposed to happen in a couple days. But you're, trying to get some more information, and you decided to plan some sort of stakeout or intelligence gathering situation to get some more information.
Mostly because we're not allowed in the tower anymore.
Yes, you did kind of, there was a situation there, and that could have, things could have probably been handled better by all of us. But for as it stands during this current run, I don't think you'd be welcome back at the tower, capital T, the tower.
And the likelihood of sneaking in there is pretty low.
Never say never when certain members of this party are present. But before that, like I said, you're at the Garden Inn. Hoblet, as you guys have checked into the penthouse, I guess that if I recall that you had acquired and paid for, Hoblet has mysteriously gone missing.
Yeah, we've never heard those words before.
Nope, definitely not.
Stakes out.
And so you can only hope that he will return before. Well, at least Zero's the one in charge of resetting, so you'll definitely see him again at some point.
One question I had, Zero, are you capable of eating that fish? Do you think it'll work if you ingest it?
Well, I suppose that depends. Is the ingestion physical or perhaps symbolic? And
I have no idea.
Well, we'll find out when it happens, and if necessary, it's easier to get a goldfish out of my stomach than any of yours.
I love this. So many questions are being raised about the ways in which the fish works, and I love that this fish that I will say I had never intended to actually be part of this story arc when I first dreamed it up, but the moment presented itself, so I ran with it. I love that this fish is so important. It makes me so happy.
I'm glad that Chuck joined the party.
Mm-hmm. But so that's where we are now. Hoblet is missing. Y'all are in your penthouse in the Garden Inn. It's like midday, so I mean, you got plenty of time to come up with a plan or figure out, I guess, like what your next objectives are. You know where Ebenezer lives. That information was given to you by Kieran Telvanni at Chuck's Dive. You guys had, gone in there after Boris had met this person playing dice at the what is it? The Village Inn.
Yep.
So that's kind of where those connections have led you now, is you're staying not too far from where he lives. He also lives here in the 9th Ward. And
How far from him are we again?
I mean, you guys are probably, it's a short walk, probably about 15-minute walk. You would expect, you guys are in like more of a common, like if you're staying in an inn, right? So this is like where you're looking, you're not too far from like some markets, and you're in a more commercial part of the 9th Ward. You would expect that, based on the map and the information you were given, he lives in more of like I guess what would be the equivalent to like a gated community.
Right.
Let's go check it out.
Do we all go at once?
I mean,
No, let's split the party.
In the middle of the afternoon? That seems kind of obvious.
Only one of us will look.
I think
Okay,
it makes
so-
sense to look at the surrounding areas and maybe the comings and goings of people in that community. We might not be able to get close enough.
And just a consideration before we move on. I think perhaps you've already thought to yourselves, what's the worst that can happen? And please don't utter that thought. But hold it to the side and think, is it so bad that it can't be fixed by swallowing the fish? Everything.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Do we want disguises, or do we just walk in like we are? It hasn't, walking in and telling the truth hasn't exactly worked this time around. It's usually my
I think
go-to.
I think I'm going to look weirder in a disguise.
Probably true.
There are some of us that are a little bit more experienced in doing said things.
Yes.
And some of us can actually turn others invisible. So there are those options as well.
Quinn is
What kind of security? Oh, sorry.
waiting for his chance to turn
turn
himself
invisible?
and someone else invisible. I just know it. It is so on brand.
Well, since the captain and I have that ability, if it comes to that, I believe Zero and Pregnart should be the ones that we turn invisible, because they will be the most difficult to disguise.
Will your ability to turn me invisible also make me inaudible?
No,
No.
but
He says, as even the motion of him, like symbolizing speech with his robotic face, is making a considerable amount of just
Clanking.
ambient noise in the otherwise quiet room that you occupy.
Zero, I happen to be pretty good at making a bunch of noise myself. So if it comes to it, hopefully I can distract them away from your clambering and lumbering.
Well, I have a different question. Is the place you are attempting to surveil within view of one of the balconies here?
No. I was hoping it would be, but it's not.
It's pretty flat, right? The entire city?
No, I did mention that some of these wards and areas, like there are some elevation changes, right? Like the area here is not entirely flat. It's not like this occupies like a valley or plains or anything like that. Like there are some natural like hills and elevation changes as you move through this like metropolis, right? Like you have like some, like even some wards themselves. Like one starts like higher up on a hill and it kind of gets a little bit, kind of the grade changes as you travel through the wards. Nothing extreme. We're not talking like things like built into the side of like cliff faces or hillsides, right? But it would just be like like imagine like I guess like an average like hilly like a hilly city, like if you've been to like Ithaca or been to like places like even Kitchener is like that too in Ontario. It's got some like major hills and whatnot.
Okay,
And
so
gorges.
the natural topography hasn't necessarily affected any of the growth of the city, though, right? I mean, it's not like there's higher points where there's different buildings
Yeah,
on these
especially
higher
because
points.
like it looks like even areas had been like excavated or leveled and adjusted specifically to support a city of this size. I mean, obviously the design and structure of the city is very intentional in that it is circular, right?
Mhm.
So like there has been some actual manipulation of the land here, but some of the natural features were kept because it is kind of pretty to be able to see sort of the landscape change as you move through a very developed city like this.
Have we surmised that those divisions in these wards and these rings are basically separated by class? Or
Kind
function?
It's yes to both of those questions. So I described that at the very center you have like the tower, which and there's like maybe like a smaller like castle in that general area and like a gardens and plaza. It's like where like that massive academy is, the tower, and then where presumably the actual leadership of just the metropolis and the city itself also reside in that area. And then you have like that's kind of walled off, and then you have another section of the city that is the inner wards, and then outside of that are some of the more like I guess like common folk places, like as the inner wards are where like most of the scholars live, most of the like rich and important people of this particular society live and occupy, and those who also work closely with the tower that's itself. And then you also have like some of the like farm corridors that are even inside this inner ring that's also within this outer ring that's also walled off. And then outside of the city there's probably small hamlets or like like places like where maybe people who couldn't afford to move in or didn't have a way to move in, like people have come and set up like smaller communities outside of the actual walls of the city of Wool proper. But I mean, this area houses at least 25,000 people just in the actual proper city limits, just within the walls.
Well, if we do need a vantage point, I mean, I know how to turn people into flying animals. I could always be a hawk, I could be a bird, I could be, whatever, and get just a good look at our surroundings.
It's an interesting skill set to have.
Maybe, I'm not really sure if you get in trouble for that sort of thing around here. I mean, certainly flying over certain areas, they're going to be able to tell, but...
Yeah, I guess no one's really taken the time to even bother to look into what the local laws are, because I don't think that's really ever a priority for this group.
They're suggestions.
I mean,
I say do it.
Jarrell would be
Just
the most
try it.
likely person to ever care about something like that amongst all of you present.
Well, generally, there's a lot of like no magic in the streets kind of rules, especially in towns like this, right? Like we just kind of know that.
Yeah, I mean, walking around, it's not like you see people performing magic tricks in the street everywhere.
Nobody's asked us to turn on our weapons yet, so that's good. We didn't come into the front gate though, either.
But you have passed through gates to travel between wards, and no one's given you like any shit for being armed to the teeth. So
Massive glowing sword and the giant robot
but that's
kill
also
machine.
because a lot of other people are in this city are armed to the teeth or possess very, very powerful magical abilities, and there seems to be a very present, like, sort of like the guard and sort of the, I guess, the local military have a very dominant presence in this city. Not like martial law type stuff, but just that, there's the internal security of the city seems to be very well maintained.
Hedrick, I think you should just try it.
Okay. So Hedrick will turn himself into. Are there any other birds that he sees around, like flying over the city?
Like actual birds?
Yeah. Have I noticed any
Indigenous birds.
Yeah. Let's take a moment and observe your aerial surroundings.
What do you want? Perception?
Yeah.
I got a 4 on the die, total of 6.
I mean, okay. It's not like that gives you nothing. I mean, you have eyeballs. You look into the air. I mean, the skies are beautiful. I mean, you may see the occasional bird fly overhead, but at the same time, you're also kind of distracted by the general atmosphere around you. You notice that there are, in certain areas of this commercial part of the Ninth Ward that you're in, there are people busking in the streets and they're drawing crowds. Like there's music happening, there's life happening in these streets. So you're looking up, but at the same time, knowing you, Hedrick, right? Like something else is sort of taking your attention away from maybe seeing any sort of what kind of birds there are. I mean, yeah, there's stuff flying overhead, but you wouldn't be able to pick out the actual kind of bird you saw.
Hedrick is definitely easily distracted. So, based on whatever size he can guesstimate, whether it's like a sparrow size or a seagull size, somewhere in that range, he'll just pick something that he imagines would be in a city.
Well, be very specific, because based on your locale, right, if you pick a very suspicious bird, I think I may do some stuff with that. So what kind of bird are you turning yourself into? Like, give me you don't have to go like American swallow or something like that. It's like basic, type of what kind of bird are you turning into?
Name that bird.
Yeah.
He's just gonna go for your average sparrow.
Yeah, there you go. Very common bird.
Something small. Hopefully, it would go unlooked, and he just wants to go up, straight up, and try to survey probably about 100 feet.
So that's what you want to do. So I'm going to ask you now how you turn yourself into a sparrow in the middle of a city street.
Well, he's going to have to look for someplace discreet, like an alleyway.
That's a good idea. Let's go look for one, maybe.
Yeah.
Is anyone is anyone else doing anything with this?
Hey,
is anyone trying to go
Boris.
along, or because Hedrick's about to just go do his thing.
I mean, Boris never said anything
I'm gonna
about
go
leaving
with
the
him.
penthouse, so Boris is running herself a bubble bath right now.
Oh, she's up in
I too thought we
Okay.
were
And
still in
ordering
the
a
penthouse,
ribeye.
and that possibly Hedrick could just turn into a bird somewhere in the penthouse and fly out from here.
Fly out the window.
Yeah.
I'll try that. I'll try the restroom or something.
Yeah, we'll
like
say
that.
you were looking up at the sky from the window. Yeah, I guess we
Yeah.
weren't very specific on how you were observing the sky. We were just
So-
kind of talking about the layout of the city.
First, I open the window. Then Hedrick plays a strange chord on his lute and polymorphs himself into a sparrow, and flies out the window.
Okay.
So we got a bead on where the house is.
Yeah, you know exactly where it is. Like you were
Yeah.
given the address. You've seen it on a map. And we're using that as sort of like a yada yada, so you know where to go.
Okay. So for however long it's going to take his little sparrow body to fly.
Not long. I mean, as soon as you get
Yeah.
high enough, you can even see it from your vantage point.
Okay.
Um,
Is it deep in the neighborhood that it's in, this gated community, or is it easily accessible from an edge
so
or a wall?
it's part of if you follow the ninth, the center of the Ninth Ward, kind of moving your way up to the road, the larger road that separates the Ninth Ward and the 10th Ward. There is a small hill where there's a little almost like a cul-de-sac of some very large and impressive looking houses, and his house is among one of them. It's we'll say it's the third one in on the left.
Okay.
But it is behind, its own gate, and it looks like there is what appears to be private security posted up outside.
Shit on one of them. See what
they-
happens.
Is it otherwise quiet around there?
Yeah, not as much life happening. Again, it's a little bit more off the path of where more commercial traffic is going, where visitors to out from outside the city would be coming to enjoy themselves, or people going to whatever work and doing their jobs. It's much quieter over there. I mean, there's still the occasional passerby, people even entering or leaving that community. Maybe some people going to work at the college. You don't know, but there is some foot traffic, just much less than the volume you're seeing where you are. You'd stick out a little bit more if you all arrived as a group, right? Because there's definitely not as much of a crowd there as where you are now that you could possibly try to blend in.
Well, he wants to get close enough to see if there's anything really happening. Like, how many security, I guess, would be one of the things that he's looking at particularly. And, if the house itself, I know it's obviously, booby-trapped and stuff, but he's just getting, an overall layout, scan. You would imagine a wizard's house is going to have high defenses, especially after those associates of Boris had said, people try to, get near the house and they don't get near the house.
I think it's more protected by spells than booby-trapped.
I mean,
Which,
tomato.
it's not
tomato.
It's not like Home Alone where you walk in and a paint
sure.
can comes swinging in and cracks you in the head.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? You don't know. You don't. It's like you've tried to break into this house. Nor are you trying to break into this house? I have no idea. I really have no idea where this plan is going.
I hope we're not trying to break into this.
I mean, you hope you're not, but are you trying to make sure that everyone's on the same page here? Because what Jarrell wants and what the party typically does don't always.
Yeah, no, I'm aware.
But as far as to answer your questions about what you were specifically trying to observe, Hedrick, you see that the guards posted up outside the gates themselves. There seem to be at least 4 that you can see. Two walking around and then 2 posted up at the gates themselves. There don't appear to be any patrolling necessarily within the community, but I mean, it's not. This cul-de-sac is so large that these guards would not be able to, from one of their small watchtowers at the top of this gate, wouldn't be able to hear or see necessarily something loud or an incident was happening. But there seems to be 4 that you've been able to see moving around and looking around. Some of them, they're talking to each other. It's at times you can see one of the guys down below who's patrolling and just doing his rounds, looking around and stuff like that. They're talking up to the guys who are in the tower, just having casual conversation. It's probably pretty boring to stand around all day, so they're just they're just chatting with each other.
And really, Hedrick just wanted a cursory glance. He wanted to look at this thing and then report back and say, this is the terrain, this is the direction, this is the best way we should go. I pulled up a bluebird on D&D Wiki if I need any checks as a bird.
Well, good.
No.
We have bird rules.
Bird rules. My beak attack is
bird
+2.
I mean, you are that creature for as long as you're polymorphed as it, so you might as well have its table up. But no, at this point, with what you're trying to observe so far, I don't think a check is necessary. This is stuff that would be apparent to the naked eye.
Okay. So I've got this spell for an hour. I'm not so sure I want to spend an entire hour looking at everything. It's as good as I can.
Yeah, it's up to you. I mean,
but
you can tell me if you wanted to spend a certain amount of time observing. We can just kind of fast forward that, and if you notice anything in that time, I'll tell you. But
that's
I would just check in with the rest of the party first to see what they're doing in that time span.
Sure. I mean, that's exactly. I just don't want them walking off. I come back and they're all gone.
That's fair. That's fair. So are you saying, okay, you have enough information, you're going back?
Yeah, I'm just heading back now.
Okay, so Hedrick arrives. You turn back into Hedrick, I'm assuming, after you fly back in through the window. Actually, when the bird flies back in through the window, does everybody remember that Hedrick turned into a bird? Would anyone be surprised that a bird flew into your window?
I think I remember.
Okay.
I'm usually surprised by.
Is that an intelligence check or a wisdom check?
No. I mean, if you want to make a check for it, I'd be happy to make you make a check for it to fish for a terrible result. But if I recall,
This is a
Boris
good
was taking
point.
a bubble bath.
I was gonna say she's in the bathtub, and there are so many bubbles in this tub that, like, even if this tub is for some reason in the main room, like, she couldn't see the bird coming in through the window anyway.
Yeah, no, it is separate.
Actually, Pregnard has not left the window since he flew out, and he's been like sort of waving to passersby on the street.
You get some waves back, and some people,
Hello.
and then others actually reel back in disgust as they've never seen anything quite like you before, and they're a little
Do not
scared.
reel. I'm friendly.
I mean, you're at the penthouse. You're definitely a few floors. I think it's like 4 or 5 floors up. Like, you know.
How-
Hello.
How would we
Hello,
go about?
Do not reel back. Reel towards me. Let's be friends.
How would we go about getting like news here? Like
How
just
would
like
you
the,
go
the
about
common
getting news?
daily news.
I mean, there's bulletin boards posted up. There you know, there might be like a newspaper. Who knows? You know what I mean? But there's definitely like there's like, you know, like any sort of town of this time period, a lot of stuff will be posted to like public bulletin boards to like inform people of like whatever, you know, area or region that they're in, of like what's happening around town or what's happening around the area.
Is there one in the hotel?
Oh, probably. I would expect there to be. Yeah, probably if you were to go back down to the lobby, you'd likely find one there if you were looking for it.
What kind of stuff is listed in their news?
Well, are you leaving the penthouse then going downstairs?
Yeah, I'll go downstairs.
Okay. Well, as you're,
I'll let everyone know. I'm going to see if I can find any common news of what's happened yesterday. See if there's any reporting on that.
Okay.
From
and
the
as you're doing
explosion.
that, I mean, Hedrick does arrive, turn back into himself. You know, just before you go, like, you know, he does share, I guess, his observations, so that at least y'all are aware of what he just saw. But yeah, you can go downstairs, back down to the lobby, take the stairs down, and yeah, there is like, you know, one of those like big bulletin boards. A ton of stuff is posted up all over it, and there is, you know, you actually see that someone is currently trying to arrange the stuff again so it's all legible, and he's like throwing out like advertisements and things like that. You can even see there's a thing carved and posted onto this board that says, you know, no solicitations.
But people
like,
still throw them up anyway.
some people, yeah.
Is there anything like an obituary, or where would you find stuff about the most common like incidents, especially if it's anything in the tower? That's what I'm looking for.
That is an interesting question. No, there would not be obituaries up on this board.
Hmm.
But it is a very interesting question. I mean, you may have to ask around to see where where those records are kept, and if those are available to the public.
Right. Anything about happenings in the tower, or are they keeping to themselves pretty much?
There's like a list of like public events, like things that are happening like in the library. Like there's like, you know, advertisements for like story time for children. They have there's not advertisements necessarily, but there's like, you know, they're announcing like the schedule for like their events of like, you know, for stuff for kids, when some of their public classes are, because they run some classes for the general public that are just, you know, available to anyone to come and learn about it, whatever they're teaching that day, or whatever subject they're going over, or whatever cool thing they want to demonstrate, you know. Like the Tower TED Talks, essentially.
Right.
There are like also, you know, like lost and found like posts up there, but there's not like necessarily any. Like, you know, if there's local news, it's more like, you know, hey, you know, local, like so and so, you know, discovers a new way to make healing potions more affordable, or
Right.
like, you know, like stuff like that, where it's just like it still very much feels like news of the day. There doesn't appear to be any sort of like alerts or warnings or advisories or anything that would indicate maybe there's something going on or something that the people need to be aware of. It just seems rather ordinary.
Am I aware of what the most common religion is in this time in this city?
I I mean, from what you read about, like before you had known or what you would have been taught growing up in the, I guess, post-fall upheaval religious area, is that prior to the fall upheaval, religious beliefs were very fluid, and people would just there are many different it's a polytheistic pantheon of different gods that have controlled the aspects of our existence, and people really believe in this era that the gods are very involved in the world, right? And they channel their power through like their servants and the people who are devoted to their cause. So, but it's less, whereas post-fall upheaval, a lot of humanity, like the humans themselves, started to follow Valen as she was sort of what they sort of saw as their savior, who was going to save them from, the aftermath of this like catastrophic event. But prior to her ascension, I guess, it was more of just the typical, like, I guess, like, your Dawn War pantheon, your D&D pantheon of 5th edition, like, all your different
So there's no
yeah.
real way to predict what, like, temple or whatever Ebenezer would have gone to.
Yeah,
if he went to any of them.
Yeah, I mean, you could make inferences based on, what you think he'd believe in or what you think he'd follow, because obviously every god has very specific beliefs and domains that they sort of rule over, right? Like you would know at this time Coralon is still alive and well and is the god of magic.
That comes in handy, I guess.
Right, because Coralon was one of the people who was involved in creating the portent of the very important portent of unbridled light. Pelor was the god of light.
Okay.
And actually, and Moradin was alive at this time too, technically. So this is a very interesting conundrum we are in, because there is also the, I guess, essence or soul of Moradin inside of Zero.
I mean, only if I meet myself.
Yeah, it's weird, but at least currently on the prime material plane that you are occupying in the past.
See, I wonder about powers derived from Valen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how we're pulling them because Valen is quite mortal right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Powers derived from Moradin, though. There is a Moradin to pull those powers from.
The thing is, Jarrell was bestowed a certain level of power by just becoming the, like Valen's champion, right? There was a whole like knighting situation essentially that happened. So I would think that by now, especially with like what level you guys are at and everything like that, that those of you with like divine powers probably possess a little of that spark within yourself at this point.
Yeah, that was supposed to be my ascension to begin with. So.
But I did mention to you that while you're wearing this helmet of Valen, right, there is sort of you almost feel like you have like tinnitus.
Yeah, and on top of that, the spells don't work. They don't seem to work exactly the same. It doesn't feel the same.
It doesn't feel the same. Doesn't feel like you're drawing it from your faith in Valen. It just feels different.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll return back.
All good questions. All very good questions. I really like that you guys are trying to understand more of your setting.
Yeah, I'll head back upstairs after not having really found out much and see what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. Any other ideas from amongst the group about how to proceed? I guess you have all the information that you've been given so far. Is there any other information you want before you go off and make a plan to surveil?
I don't know that we should directly interact with Ebenezer or his family.
You already threw that option out the window when you walked into his office. Yesterday.
But I don't want to like try to break into his house. Pretty much what I'm saying. Yes. Or even like go up to them and talk to them necessarily. I want.
You don't
to
want to
watch.
Break in, or you don't want to get caught breaking in.
I don't see what the purpose of breaking in would be.
Because we don't have to be caught breaking in.
I have no intention of breaking into his house or talking to his wife. I'm mostly curious to see what happened if that was his son up there in the tower infirmary. There may be some good we can still do there if he's not cured yet.
Him being our prime suspect.
You mean the son?
No, I mean Ebenezer.
Oh yeah,
Sorry, I'm speaking out
Ebenezer's
of character.
definitely the prime suspect. Jarrell's kind of hope here is that there's something that we can do to save his kid that'll keep him from turning evil. That's why he's also trying to find out whether or not the kid's dead. Looking for the obituaries.
Ooh, tragic backstory.
It's the start of all villains.
I like the
What is
angle.
our
The
appointment?
good
with
ones,
him again?
anyway.
Your appointment is null and void because you did
Oh,
not
right.
make an appointment, and B, he just said come back after 9. My office hours for groups are today, from 9 a.m. onward.
But we're
Y'all
not
got
allowed in
kicked
there.
out. Also, from what you understand, his son was just seriously injured. So, or what you are assuming is his son was seriously injured.
I guess these things all work against us.
One thing's for certain is we've met 2 different Ebenezers, and something happens that turns this lovable old, super wizard, super nice guy into the, epitome of destruction, or at least the utensil of destruction. Something happens through him.
He certainly wasn't the nicest man I've ever met. That honor is directly related to Mr. Pregnant here. And I will pat the nicest man I've ever met on the head.
You're using the term man very loosely.
It's me.
He is a frog man. McGuggles are men, in their own way.
It's
Okay.
not easy being green.
Next, you're gonna start singing the Rainbow Connection.
hmm
I don't think
I'm
Pragnar
just-
can hit that register.
Listen, I'm just sitting back and letting you guys riff in character. I mean, it's like you got to come up with the plan. I can't. I can only give you what you ask for.
Perhaps we do watch the house, and if we see a sign that the son is still injured, I could offer my assistance and maybe get us back in before things go south again.
I'd rather
Let's,
be an
uh,
I'm
invited
not
one.
certain anything to
I
do
have
with
an
that
idea.
family is going to be a winning play.
I have an idea. I have a plan. I would like to go to a bakery and get a pie, and then I would like to go to a florist and get a bouquet, and go to Ebenezer's house and give him presents to say, I hope that your son gets better soon.
I honestly think that's a wonderful idea, Pregnant. Probably the best idea we've had so far.
One brief problem with that. We don't officially know it's his son. We've inferred it based on ill-gotten intelligence.
That is a gamble I'm willing to take.
Well, he has a kid.
Right. But we,
Yes.
us knowing he has a kid and him standing over a young man who was injured.
It is a reasonable. It is a very reasonable assumption to make based on the fact that Mildred Scutibute told you that he has a wife and child, and that he was caring for somebody who was seriously injured that Boris saw.
And that we
I'm
knew that the
willing-
child
I'm
was a
willing to
student
take
at
that
the
gamble.
school.
Yes, you also know that the child was a student at the school, and you were also told by a prefect who who was not allowed to divulge identity information, but you knew that the kid who was injured was the child of a faculty member. You have all of
What
this
kind of
information.
pie are we getting?
What pie would you suggest, Pregnant?
Blackberry.
Yeah, I think something tart and sweet.
I
Okay.
just said because he has black in his name. Blackberry makes sense.
So I have I don't necessarily want to intentionally call attention to something, but I feel like it would be unfair for me not to call attention to this, and that y'all are making this plan now, right? Has anyone heard from Boris besides knowing that she's in a mountain of bubbles somewhere?
She's still in the Mountain of Bubbles?
No, we
Somewhere
assume
in that
Boris
bubble?
is in the Mountain of Bubbles, or that Boris is somewhere that we can't do a damn thing about anyway. So we
Right.
might as well assume she's in the Mountain of Bubbles.
Okay, I am just asking because she has been very quiet, and I just see her smiling.
For
and I've
all we
seen her
know,
smiling this whole time.
Boris could be back in the tower murdering his son. We don't know. Like, we have no idea.
Yes, but we can't alter that outcome from here.
No.
Okay, I'm just okay.
Even if we tried, I don't think we could. So,
No.
So, anyways, you were discussing, I guess, a plan about buying a care package for Ebenezer.
yeah.
So
Flowers
speaking
and pie.
about
Get
both
well
that
soon.
and the other plan, neither of these issues are so bad that I can't swallow the fish and get us out of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to a bakery.
Okay, when you say let's go to a bakery, who are you talking to?
Jarrell's totally going with Pregnant.
Everybody in here. Let me poke my head into the bathroom door, crack open bathroom door. Boris. Boris?
There is no response.
Boris? Am I pronouncing that right?
Pregnart, make me a perception check. I will not give you disadvantage on this because you're familiar with bubbles.
Perception.
Uh-huh.
Familiar with bubbles?
He's very at home
16.
with bubbles.
You
16.
need to add that to your
Um,
character sheet.
There is
Familiar with
there is
bubbles.
a tiny bathroom window kind of mounted very high up on the wall, and it is wide open.
A nude Boris is running through the town. Fantastic.
Well,
We don't know this either.
Nobody said she was nude.
all right.
My clothes aren't in the main room.
Hey, everybody. I think Boris is gone missing.
Of course she has.
This
I
is
was-
the least surprising news of the day.
Sounds about right.
And when
Do we
Hopwood's not
try to
here,
make it to
someone
the
else
house?
takes the timer.
Right. Do we try to make it to the house before she does?
So, I have an alternate proposal, and maybe we don't do it this time, maybe it happens later. I propose that we sit back and do nothing. Eventually, something is going to pop off, whether we do anything or not. And
Can
when
we
that
go to a
pops off, we're
bakery
going to
and do
learn
nothing?
something.
Mhm.
My
I mean,
concern.
we should going to a bakery isn't the worst idea, regardless of what happens with those baked goods.
Right. My concern is that there's only so many chances we have, and we've already wasted 2 of them probably. He has. Dr. Hines has not given us an exact number, but I can't imagine it's much. He's made it very clear that it's limited. So I'd like to do as much as we can in each of our attempts. If we can solve this issue this time, we don't have to do it again.
But who's to say what Boris is doing isn't the way we solve the problem?
We've never solved the problem before, ever.
Nobody
Who knows what
Boris
Boris?
is. Let's get
The-
to the street.
the-
Let's go to a bakery. Let's try
best
to
way-
find something to do. I'm getting bored.
Someone
Pregnart's a
I
feed
don't
the
want to go
frog.
alone. Who wants to go with me? I'm bored up here. I want to do something.
Darrell's already ready to go with you to the bakery.
I should hop out the window and go. I should have been with Boris. Next time we reset, but next time we get the peanut butter cup, I'm going with Boris this time.
I could
This
have
is
gone
boring.
invisible and helped her.
I mean, listen, there was plenty of time to come up with plans. Pregnart's got a plan. Boris has got a plan. So we're going to see him out. So Pregnart, I'm assuming everyone else comes with you to a bakery.
Yeah.
Boris, while they're searching for a bakery, where are you?
This is in a dress shop.
You're in a dress shop. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Boris is shopping specifically for an appropriate gown for a 13-year-old young lady of the time.
So like a period gown, essentially, right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
plenty of there.
Something that
In
says I'm
fact,
from an affluent family.
there is an enthusiastic halfling woman who runs this shop, and she is like measuring you and scurrying around you, getting everything just fitted properly. You have plenty of money on you, so I'm not even going to bother. You just slap some money on the counter, and she just is going to work. So yes, whatever dress you desire can be yours. What does
If
it
the
look
price
like?
is right.
It's appropriate for the time period.
We haven't really established that, so like, why don't you? Your what you say here is now the period dress.
Cool. So Boris is incredibly uncomfortable because she is like corseted to the nines and has like way more petticoats than she has ever experienced in her entire life on, and doesn't even understand the thing that's happening with the frills on her shoulders, and is just like in this, like, not evening gown because she wasn't going that fancy, but it feels like an evening gown to Boris because of just the amount of like fabric and binding involved with this compared to normally being in very flexible armor.
Right. And what have you done with like your armor and things like that? You like stored those away?
I've gotten a nice satchel as well. So all of my stuff has gone into the pockets of my armor, and then my armor's been nicely folded into my satchel with my dagger.
Very nice. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, so Boris, he's doing all that stuff. I mean, that takes some time. So y'all go to, looking around for a bakery. You guys might even bump into one another, but will you even recognize Boris if she walks out of that shop in this dress right now? We'll see.
I would.
Not unless she wants to be. It's Boris.
I mean,
Pregnant.
yeah.
Hold on, let me see. I'm pretty sure the name bucket has a baker in here somewhere. Going to the bucket.
Opti is especially allergenic today.
Oh,
Hyper allergenic.
I mean, you never hear it, but I presume that's the right word.
Oh, you know what? No, I have a great idea. You find a bakery run by none other than an old friend of Hoblet, Maven the Baker.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
A red-nosed dwarven man with a very full head of hair and a very full beard is running the shop with, it looks like a team of other dwarves that you probably would assume that they're all related. And yeah, they're making all kinds of delicious baked goods up in here.
Pragnar walks up to the counter. He says,
Which pie is best for a bribe?
The dwarf, Maven, I guess, actually only a couple, some of you here would actually recognize it, Quinn and Zero. I think even Jarrell too, would recognize this guy. He says, for a bribe, are you talking about putting a bribe into a pie or bribing someone with the pie?
Bribing something.
sorry, did I just... I think
You
I got
just,
your
you
accent
just,
a little
you
by
just
osmosis.
osmosised my accent, yeah.
I would like to bribe somebody with pie.
Okay. Fruit, sweet or savory?
Fruit, sweet, please.
Okay. Berry? Or...
Yes, berry.
Okay.
I saved you on that one.
stone fruit.
Stone, yeah.
Of course, dwarven stone fruit.
I mean, we can whip something up for you. Any of Maven's pies would be worthy of a bribe.
I was thinking blackberry pie.
Yeah, do you want anything, any frilly extras in there, or just a proper blackberry
I would
pie?
like crust, especially decorative.
Sure.
I want this pie to be irresistible, please.
Oh, one irresistible pie coming right up then. He just scurries off to the back and you hear a bunch of, people talking, and then he comes back and says, okay, we'll be 30 minutes.
All right. Do you know where a florist is?
What would I do with flowers?
I'm
Probably
sorry,
somewhere in this town, yes.
Okay, so nowhere nearby. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome, little frog. We'll see you in 30 minutes.
Okay, bye.
Bye. All right. You got a pie on. You got a pie being made right now. Congratulations.
Why does this baker not know what any of the surrounding businesses are? That doesn't make any sense.
He's not
Maybe
very
he just likes-
civically minded.
Yeah, maybe he just likes to be doing his thing and making pies. Maybe he just doesn't really care for flowers. Doesn't really,
Yeah, maybe
think
he's
about
allergic to
florists.
flowers and just doesn't care.
Yeah. So
You don't know this man.
where have we met Maven
Stop
the
judging
Baker
him.
before? Or
Hoblet's
when in the
He's a friend of
Adventures.
Hoblet. In fact,
Oh.
as soon as you walk outside Pregnar and you look at the row of storefronts, there is a florist 2 doors down.
Well, what the fuck is wrong with this guy then?
well, apparently he doesn't plan on staying in town for more than 2 days.
Right. Or a day and a half at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Son of a bitch. All right.
Right? Because you
I
guys
go
ran into
flo-
him in the opposite ass end of the world.
Right.
I go into the florist.
Okay. You go to the florist. I actually have a florist in the main bucket as well. You get to use all the things. Yes, inside of this flower shop, this florist, it literally is just called Flora Ann's Fauna.
Oh. Are they like animal-shaped flower bouquets?
No. The proprietor of this business, Flora Ann,
Yeah.
is she looks like an actual a horned creature, but not like a tiefling. Almost like a standing goat human, like a satyr almost.
Okay.
And she's just a menagerie in here of beautiful of all kinds of floral and varietal plants. It is like a green thumb's dream in here.
Got it. Okay. Well, I go up to the counter and I say,
Which bouquet would be best for a bribe?
The Flora responds and she says, "What kind
is anybody following me, by the way? Am I just
Yeah,
like...
no,
left
we're all
my
with
own
you.
Yeah, I
device?
think everyone's just following along. They're just along for the ride. She says, "What kind of bribe, honey? One to win over the heart of your sweetie, or one to say I'm sorry?"
Sort of like
Why does
a-
it sound like she runs a brothel?
I
Sort of
don't know,
like-
man.
it's-
Just let me be a character for fuck's sake.
It's kind of like an unstructured bribe. Maybe bribe is the wrong word, but that's what it feels like.
You have to be more specific, baby.
More along the lines of an I'm sorry. Jarrell will kind of chip in a little bit.
Fran, you're enjoying this too much.
I am.
Sexy,
Dave is
do you want your
enjoying this a lot.
flowers?
How
Dave is like
sexy-
red in the face. He's giggling.
How sexy do you want your flowers? Yeah, she's pretty much asking you how sexy you want your flowers.
Do you want the pistols showing or not showing?
This is not sexy bouquet. This is like just friendly flowers. Just trying to make people feel good.
Oh, well, I mean, I can direct you to some of my many kinds of roses and other, colorful flowers, something to, share your affection with somebody, your friendship.
It's a kind of a get well soon type thing.
Oh, well, why didn't you say so? Yeah, I have some forget-me-nots and some other things. Here, why don't make me name flowers right now. I don't want to come up with flower. It's inconsequential. What kind of flowers are you looking for? Help me out here.
Hyacinths. I want hyacinths.
Oh, I got some right here for you. She walks over. You see some of them hang in some hanging baskets somewhere behind this counter area she's at, and she gets a few ones clipped off nice and fresh. She cleans them and wraps them and presents them to you in a nice, beautiful bouquet.
Wow, I love this. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
This is
That'll
free?
be just that. She says that will be 50 silver.
Pregnard sort of nudges Jarrell.
Yeah, Jarrell will.
Jarrell ponies up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like it's
a
kind of
frog
gone
with a
under the
sugar
radar.
daddy. I see.
It's gone under the radar, I think, completely for until now. But like, Pregnard does not have any
Any
money.
concept? Yeah,
Nor
right.
has-
He doesn't carry any money on
Nor
him,
has
right?
anyone given him any money, and I don't think it's ever.
It
come
works
up
out
before
for
now.
the best because any money you carry would have a fine film all over it.
Right.
The only currency that is canon for Pregnard is sausage.
That's true. Yeah. No one really pays for anything with
Yeah.
sausage in this society. So
Pregnard does.
Pay up, Jarrell.
He very does strike me as a very much barter economy kind of guy.
Yeah.
and after you pay and this exchange happens, she just says, come back and see me anytime, sweetie, and then she gives a wink to Jarrell.
What?
He's the one who ponied up.
No.
That's
He
fair.
thinks
Obviously
he
the
thinks
sweetest one of
she
the bunch.
thinks that he's your sugar daddy.
Which is probably, relatively accurate.
And you have an entourage for some reason. That's about it. You guys walk out of the florists, and a few more doors down, out of the dress shop, out walks a very, very different-looking Boris. Are you wearing anything on your head? Do you have any
Yeah.
headwear?
My plan was to get hair done next, so if I could
okay.
have done that in the same shop, then I would
No.
have done that in the same. Yeah. So I was I would have gone from dress to hairdresser, wherever that is in this strip, which seems like it would also be in this strip.
I see. Yeah, probably. Why not? Somewhere in this area, there's definitely a hairdresser. What I want to happen here, as I sort of begin to roll the credits on this episode, is that as both parties are walking out of their respective shops, they sort of look over in in each other's direction, kind of like that scene from It's Always Sunny, where Mac and Charlie are staring at each other from
Right.
different tables across a restaurant, right? Where your eyes lock, but you're doing your thing and the other person's doing their thing, but there's just that brief moment of eye
Or that
contact.
Umbrella Academy meme.
Yeah, exactly. Just you know what I mean? Where you see each other and you go back to doing your respective things. And
Yeah.
that's where I'd like to call this episode of the Hapless Heroes podcast.
Of course.
As long as Boris intends to be recognized, then yes. Otherwise, there's no way any of us is going to beat her score if Boris doesn't want to be seen.
Right.
Right.
I will say that Boris only she meets eyes with Pregnart very
Yes,
briefly
it's the two
for
of
a
them that
second,
lock eyes. Yes.
and then goes into the the hair
hairdresser.
salon.
Perfect. Yeah.
Pregnard had a blank stare,
Yep.
and then he continues forward.
Beautiful. And that's where we call this episode of the Hapless Heroes podcast. If you like us, you can find us on the internet. We're on such places as Twitter, which has been recently revived under the guiding hand of our very own Zach. I'm just looking for @HaplessHeroes on Twitter.
Tell me something. Tell me something on Twitter that I don't know.
There's your challenge. Tell us something we don't know. That's pretty easy. Come on. Try us.
Past, present, or future.
Yeah. But you can also find us. We are on other places like Instagram and Facebook and Reddit. Those places, really, a lot of those will also have links to direct you to where a lot of us spend the majority of our time socializing on the internet, and that is our Discord server. You can meet and interact with us, other members of our community that we've grown from this show, more people just keep showing up, and we are so happy to have all of you hanging out with us. We're talking D&D stuff, we're talking sports stuff, because, we're no secret, a lot of us are Buffalo Bills fans, so that's just
The who?
how it be. Shut up.
Who's that?
But we're all it's a great community. It's a great time. We encourage you to come in and join the conversation. It's a super fun place to be. But if you really like us, you can leave us a 5-star review or rating on the podcast service of your choice. I think iTunes and some other stuff do allow you to still leave reviews. Spotify allows you to leave at least a rating. We'd appreciate a 5-star rating on Spotify. It seems to be where the majority of you are listening to us on. But if you want to say some kind words to us and don't have the method to do so, you can also just shoot us an email at haplessheroes@gmail.com or leave a review in the 5 Stars channel on our Discord server, just like Killian97 did. And now Killian97 is the person we said was our 100th person to join the Discord server, and we sent them unsolicited doodles. They reached the episode.
Nice.
And and then suddenly the unsolicited doodles made sense. But they say, what to say about a group of friends sharing their love of the game with the world? I say bravo. The characters are as lovable as the people that portray them. The gameplay is engaging and easy to follow because they explain what is going on with each spell, action, and movement made. Do we? I'm really glad you think so. Not real sticklers of the rules per se. There we go. But they keep it flowing and captivating for the audience. The in and out of character banter will keep you rolling with laughter. 5 stars aren't nearly enough. Thank you, Killian. Shut up. 5 stars aren't nearly enough to describe you, Killian97.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a part of our audience.
He says the rules aren't a big, but
Enjoy the doodles.
Do we ever really break the rules though? Like I think we're pretty good on those for the most part.
I think
Rules
we
are
rule of
subjective.
cool a lot of stuff, yeah.
But anyway, speaking of things that are cool, if you really, really like us, you could donate to our Patreon. It's patreon.com/haplessheroes. We have a whole bunch of different rewards on there. I'm a little behind in adding some new ones, but I got a nice queue of stuff a nice chunk of content to add on there. Bloopers, behind the scenes audio, potential future hot chip challenge.
What are we doing on the hot chip? Are we doing the 1 chip challenge?
Yeah, where do they sell them? If we can find out where they sell them,
Walgreens.
I'll buy one. Whoever else wants to buy one. I'll figure out how to record all of us via like OBS and stuff like that, and I'll like put it up on the fucking Patreon page and it's like a private YouTube link for our patrons. So expect to see that in the coming weeks or months or whenever you're listening to this. It might already be up. Who knows? And yeah, a whole bunch of stuff on there. All the money just goes right back into, honestly, this show. We got Mike a new microphone. If you heard his voice sounds so much nicer
Mike's
now.
got a new mic.
We pay our hosting costs. Like it's been such a blessing to have you supporting us, and we really want to make sure that we're giving you the quality content that you're essentially paying us for or donating to us for. So thank you all to our supporters. You guys are amazing. Seriously.
Yeah.
And if you like us right now, you like us, Sally Field, and the whole deal. Design yourself a pocketable incendiary device and cover your body in fire retardant gel and clothing, except for the pants, and then walk up to somebody with the pocketable incendiary device in your pants pocket and say, "The Hapless Heroes is not a good podcast," and then click your incendiary device. Your pants will go up in flames, but you will be safe from it because of the retarded gel. And then you'll wink at them and say, "Get it?"
You're a liar. Pants on fire.
Yeah.
It's
You'll
totally
say- you'll say
doable,
wink.
but
I think I got it.
Get it? My pants are on fire because I said the Hapless Heroes podcast is not good. Wink. Get it? And at that point, you'll probably be sustaining some burns, but it'll be worth it.
Stop, drop, and
And I'll
roll.
be traumatized by the man self-immolating at me over a podcast.
Definitely not that. Definitely not that. That could not possibly happen.
just remember that flammable and inflammable mean the same thing. So don't.
What a country!
No, you're going for fire retardant gel.
Right. Make sure you pick the right thing.
Good lord. Anyways, so to outro our show, I know nothing more besides just to go back through the order of people that we went through at the start of this and tell you who they are again and tell you how much I love them. Starting with John playing Lord Jarrell of the Light.
Until next time.
Phil as Hedrick the Entertainer.
Heroes be shopping. You go 160 years in the past, you cannot stop a hero from shopping.
Zach as Pregnart.
Froggy's little baby loves shortening. Froggy's little baby loves blackberry pie.
Nicole as Boris the Butcher.
Phew, if this tag says this dress is inflammable, that's lucky.
Mike as Lord and Captain Quinn Southwind.
I'm almost offended I wasn't invited to retail therapy.
And Dave as Zero, Valen's Avatar of War.
Good evening, everyone.
And I'm Francesco. As I've been your host at DM. We'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.